We're going to get into the last segment of the day, as we always do, which is what we've been sipping on, any media that we've been consuming the past week or since the last time we recorded a podcast, because we didn't record one last week. But,
right.
So maybe got a little bit more time to consume some media. What you been sipping on, Mike? Or you want me to go first?
I want you to go first, because I've got a few things trying to think about. But, yeah, by that time, I'll be ready to go. It's kind of like ordering at a restaurant. You're like, oh, by the time you're done ordering, I'll be ready to go.
Okay.
Go ahead.
That's cool. So I have been sipping on a couple different things, a couple animes that aren't really worthwhile. I started watching, what's it called? The HBO show, Succession. I started watching that.
Is that good?
I'm only like 1 or 2 episodes in, and I've kind of been shifting back and forth between multiple different things. But the thing that I've really been sipping on is actually a little bit of Barstools. And I don't know if you follow, like, I'm sure you do, being a sports guy. Like, I think that the Barstools thing that they have created, this was something that I've known about since college, back in like 2012 and stuff like that, because I know Harmeyer used to follow like Big Cat and stuff like that back in the day. They've been doing it for 20 years, and they have straight up, I didn't know that they did this, created like The Office, the show The Office on NBC. But on YouTube in real life, like they actually just have cameras at their office all day, just recording shit, and it's fucking dope. It's really cool.
I've always said it would be cool to see something like that in a more like when they say like reality TV, all that shit's scripted. Yeah, what they're doing is just it's real.
Well, I don't know.
Real.
I don't.
I mean, they like maybe they set up different.
There's definitely shit being set up because
a little bit, but then they don't script or have anything to where it goes from that point. You know what I'm saying?
But have you watched like this past week with the presidential election that they did between Tommy and Kelly Keegs or whatever? They had, because Barstool's recently just their parent company that was helping them, which was Penn. Penn. They had a deal with ESPN, so they essentially had to go away from Barstools, and now Dave Portnoy owns all of Barstools again. So
for $1.
Because they did that, the content team was like, "Oh, we should hold an election." And it's a fake election, but at the same time, the 40-minute content piece that they had out of it was fucking hysterical.
Was it? I'll have to watch that.
Oh, it was so good, man. It got to a point where like they had the women and men pitted against each other, and like the Tommy guy was kind of doing like this Donald Trump-esque thing, and the other girl was doing this like women empowerment or whatever. And then when the election was all over, it was like, oh, it's rigged, just like the 2020 elections.
Gotcha.
It was it was a really good thing that they did there.
Skit,
it was phenomenal. And but that's where I kind of go, it's not all real. It's not like, they definitely have teams that are doing this. They record at certain times, and
but they don't, like, it's the rest of like what they do within the like kind of the stage of what they set. Like after that, they don't actually have it scripted though. I feel like everything that's said and done is just kind of like it kind of flows.
I think that some of it definitely is unscripted. Like I was watching. They had like the best of Barstool scenes, which is like this 40-minute thing that they do, I think weekly, where it's just like this week the content that they record or whatever, just like the highlights, and it was the highlights of the highlights. Yeah. But I remember I was watching one with Rico, and this man hurled a full can of High Noon at another employee. Like, I don't think that was scripted, because if that would have hit the other employee, they would have been in some deep shit.
Right.
But it's one of those things where, like, some of it, I think that the guys are always ready to record. Yeah. But a lot of it is scripted to a point where they know that this is going to get views. So
the setup is scripted, and then whatever happens after that is kind of you know, it goes with the flow and whatnot. Yeah.
Exactly. But I mean, Barstool's, I didn't realize until recently how big Barstool's was. I mean, I knew with Ohio passing the gambling laws or whatever, Barstool's has their own betting application and stuff like that. But like, they have like, I believe it's just 24 hours of just rotated in and out shows that they do of radio shows, podcasts and stuff.
Really?
And yeah.
I'll have to watch that.
Like, dude, they have so many different shows going through there, and like, they're not even just hitting sports anymore. They hit like other categories and genres and stuff. And it's just, it's become this huge thing.
No kidding.
This huge thing.
I have to watch that for sure.
Yeah. No, I can give you some shit to maybe check out, but I'm just getting new into it. Yeah, but no, definitely check out Barstools and see some of the stuff that they're doing, because I think they're doing good things. Dude, they do their own college game day.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, okay.
I knew about that. Yeah, because they talked about that, and from what I understand, with some of the recent ESPN layoffs, They were kind of trying to pull maybe some of the people that were involved with
ESPN
that, over to that, just to do just that.
I just watched one of the Pick'em shows that they do with Dave, Big Cat, and Rico. They were actually talking. Rico has a connection with ESPN, and they were trying to get him on Barstools, and Rico was like, y'all have said some shit about this guy. I don't think that he's going to win. Like,
right.
Yeah, there's definitely a little war going on there.
Right.
And I think that they're kind of the rising up to this big power of ESPN. But like you said, ESPN's kind of falling. And
they are. I mean, they're putting all their eggs in Pat McAfee's basket, I believe, still.
Well,
or is that not working
They
out?
fired a bunch of... No, well, that's going to work out because Pat McAfee is the man in the sports world.
He is, but I feel like that's going to take away from his legitimacy of what he's known for.
I don't know. I've seen some of his shit.
Is he going to be able to do what he's doing?
I've seen his shit recently, and it seems like...
But is he a part of ESPN
Here's
yet?
the thing. I think ESPN is firing all like the contemporary guys that they've had, and they have laid off a lot of people.
Yeah, especially from
They're
the
focusing
radio.
on independent media because they know that that is the future. People don't want to watch ESPN's fucking 30-minute time slot for whatever game it is or whatever. They want to watch this independent guy who can talk about whatever he wants to.
But see, it used to be relevant, like Mike and the SVP podcast, Scott Van Pelt's podcast, SVP and Rosillo, and then Will Kane's podcast. Like, those used to have relevance. Those used to be great podcasts.
Yeah, for sure. Sorry, I just want to make sure.
No, you're good.
I mean, I don't know.
ESPN's radio used to be really, really good, and then they just kind of veered off into being... so far, even almost away from getting away from sports to a degree. And then
I think they're just so mainstream at this point that everyone's getting a little bit tired of it.
Yeah, absolutely. But if you bring an independent in, which you're right, it is kind of controlling the narrative and coming up, and really people are following that more so because they're sick and tired of that mainstream.
Well, that's why they brought Pat McAfee.
Correct. But if they dilute Pat McAfee into what they want him to be instead of what he's naturally good at and what he is now, then that's going to just hinder both.
Yeah, but I think Pat McAfee is that type of guy, and I think the deal that they made kind of gives him free range.
I hope that does. I hope that does.
Yeah, we'll see how it works because Barstool's originally with the buyout that they had, where Dave kind of sold the company to get the more corporate type thing and expand them or whatever, and it definitely worked. But they've been saying this past week and stuff that now that he's come back and owns the full thing, that now they can start going back to the original Barstools,
right? Which is what made them, which is what started their their rise in popularity. Yeah, exactly, for sure.
Yeah, so that's what I've been sipping on. I don't know if you want to get into a little bit because we're a week away. College football starts
College
today,
football starts now, actually, yes. There's not a whole lot on today, but yeah, next week's going to be fantastic. Dude, college football Saturdays and Sunday NFL is just... It's just like, I mean, I feel like fall has become my favorite season for
Dude, I'm done with summer this year. I usually like summer because more shit's going on, but I've had some issues this past summer that, like, it just hasn't been. I'm ready for fall and football.
Yeah, I hear you.
A lot of that has to do with the Bengals have Super Bowl implications, but...
it's kind of Super Bowl or bust now is the kind of the
as crazy as that sounds.
I mean, is that not wild because of really... I don't want to say one man. Obviously, Burrow is like the biggest reasoning for that, but I feel like too is the culture that has been instilled into that locker room and into that franchise.
Props to ZT for that,
and you got to give him a lot of props, regardless of what it is that he portrays as a coach on the field and stuff like that. Which I still think he does a great job of, and he's getting better and better, I think, each year.
Underappreciated, I would say. Because
I agree. And Duke Tobin is one of the best GMs in football.
Look what happens when Mike Brown's not running it.
Exactly.
Shit.
I mean,
I'll give you this. Burrow is kind of at the forefront of that.
He's absolutely
he is the face, but there's a lot of other.
There's a lot of moving parts behind the scenes that people don't.
Jamar Chase, Lou Anarumo might be the best defensive coordinator in the league.
Brian Callahan's done a great job with their offense. I mean, and they've drafted. I hope this past draft was an advancement into the future of their young players and their core. Right. They've done a fantastic job. But I mean, the other thing I guess I could say I've been sipping on, I went back and started watching the show Suits again. I know I've mentioned that before.
I just saw that Suits became the most streamed show of all time. It was like yesterday that I saw that.
So
I don't know how
guys,
true it was, but
yeah, it's #1 on Netflix.
Yeah.
And so now you guys can't talk shit about anything that I recommend watching. I feel good about that. Dude, it's just a great business mindset. Just a really good flow. It's kind of like an Entourage without like the Ari Gold, like the actual like.
I've never seen Entourage, so
Entourage is my favorite show of all time, but Suits is #2 because like Suits is just such a great, well written show. It's business mindset. It really gets you into that mindset of like just going out and going after it and getting it. It's great. I went back and started watching that actually with my girlfriend because she's already seen a lot of it, but not everything.
I'm probably going to have to check that out here soon. I got some other
really
shit that I want to see, but that's kind of moving up
on
my list now.
Yeah, get into it. At least watch the first couple of seasons and you'll probably become hooked.
For sure.
The other thing too is I went back and started watching old I still say WWF. But I've got a Peacock subscription and all the old WWF Raws, Monday Night Raws.
Oh, WWE?
Yes. I don't ever call it WWE. When I watched it, it was WWF. I'll wait till you get back.
I don't remember. Oh, sorry. My bad. I just need to get that. I don't ever remember it being called WWF.
Dude, it was WWF until the World Wildlife
boxing.
No, WWF was WWF before the World Wildlife Foundation went after Vince McMahon and WWF, and they had to change their name to Worldwide Entertainment, which is now WWE, obviously. But yeah, it was WWF when it was the Attitude Era. Attitude Era was Stone Cold and The Rock and The Undertaker and all those guys in their prime.
Yeah.
When they were going up against Monday Night Nitro and WCW for the Monday Night Wars and all that. That's what I grew up on, and like
I've always never fucked with pro wrestling.
Well, back then it was so like the entertainment value of wrestling back then was.
I'll give them props for doing their thing. They get people.
We're
watching.
We're talking late '90s, early 2000s.
Yeah, who is that? Vince McMahon that does that? Yeah.
Yeah.
The business genius, fucking entertainment genius, knows how to do it, but it's never been my cup of tea. I've never.
Back then, they were going up against like the NWO, the New World Order, with Hulk Hogan and Kevin Nash and Scott Hall and all those guys.
Gotcha.
That's when it was at the height because it had the competition.
Okay.
But that was, dude, I went back and watched some of those old ones. And the only reason why is because I saw a podcast with the guy who was basically running WCW. And he talks about the night that WCW basically screwed themselves and WWF took over the ratings war. WCW had been up 83 weeks. It's called the 83-week podcast. The 83 weeks that WCW was #1. And then WWF took over one night when WCW announcer said, I hope you're still tuning into us. If you are thinking about going over to the other, whatever, WWF or whatever. Anyway, so it was a 83-week podcast, and the commentators for WCW said, if you're thinking about, I hope you're still tuning in. If you're thinking about switching over to the other network, we just found out that, because it was the Raw was taped. Monday Night Raw for WWF was taped. He's like, we just found out that Mankind is going to win the championship. And they're like, well, why would they put him over and all this other stuff? But the way it happened, people switched over to the other network and watched the WWF. And was
it one of those things where they found out like it was fixed at that point?
Well, the WWF, everything's wrestling scripted for the most part, but they basically were like putting down the wrestler that they were like WWF was putting as basically putting over as the new champion, and people were like, Mankind's going to be champion because he was popular, but like they're like, what, really? So then they switched over to the other network, and the way that Mankind became champion was Stone Cold coming out and like hitting The Rock over the head with a chair and putting Mankind over The Rock and pinning him. And it was like a huge pop. Like when Stone Cold's music, that glass hit, it was a huge crowd pop, one of the biggest in the history. And then from that point forward, people wanted to know why they were going with this angle. So then that's when WWF's ratings went through the roof. So I went back and started watching some of those Raws. Yeah, man, some old clips. And just because wrestling now sucks, I haven't paid attention to it for probably 15 years.
Yeah.
But back then, it was just the entertainment value. It was people would talk about it at school on Tuesdays.
Yeah,
at Elder and stuff. We talked about what happened the night before. In wrestling.
I remember back in my early college days, Harmeyer and a lot of my friends, they used to watch wrestling highlights all the time.
That's what I'm saying.
I never understood it.
But it was just the entertainment value back then was just so good because of the competition they had. But I went back on Peacock and watched some of that. I also finished the Full Swing documentary on Netflix, and I'm getting ready to start the last thing I've been waiting to sip on, and I'll talk about this in upcoming podcasts, but the new Florida Gators documentary that's going to...
Is it an Untold? Because I just watched that Johnny Manziel one.
No, it's not an Untold. I can't remember what I think it's on Netflix, but it's about the Florida. I believe it's on Netflix. So it's about the Florida Gators when Tim Tebow was.
I was about to say Tebow era.
Yeah, and the freaking trailer looked awesome.
It does. I mean, Tebow had a whole story.
I don't know if it's an Untold. It could be.
That man got up in a press conference and was like, "You're never going to see anyone work harder than I will these next couple months." And
I don't care as much. I don't care as much crap as anyone would give because they hated Tebow. The man stood for something.
Hated him, and I respect him.
His faith and work ethic is what got him to be one of the best college football, athletes, quarterbacks, whatever you want to say, just motivators of his generation.
Was never a very good quarterback, but
wasn't the best, but he was a winner, he did it based upon his faith and his work ethic. He put just everything he had into it, and he was vocal about it.
Yeah, legend and great commentator too.
And he pulled. It's kind of like each one teach one. It's like you want to be great. Cool. It's like the Kobe mindset, Mama mentality. Bring others with you. Yep. Because that's how you win.
Hell yeah! I might have to check that out.
It's pretty awesome. That trailer was killer. It was. I had chills.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Hell yeah. Was that all you've been sipping on?
That's it, man.
All right. This has been What You've Been Sipping On, episode 66 of Your House Our Rules.
Yes.
Peace.